Scott Morgan, Esquire.
And I am Tony Kinnett, and we are the
Wild Scallions!
So we want to introduce to you some most excellent people.
Dude, totally bogus, but did you know people all over this country that work in agriculture are treated most heinously, and communities don't even have access to great food?
No way. So these most excellent people are bridging that gap and getting food to the people who need food.
Righteous.
And respect for the people who grow it.
Most righteous.
Most righteous. So we would like to introduce to you Nate Kleinman, who's going to introduce to you these most excellent people.
Killer.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for that most excellent introduction. My name's Nate Kleinman. Nice to see you all again. I'll introduce myself and then introduce the panelists for this exciting panel today on growing in urban Jersey and food justice. My name is Nate Kleinman. I'm the co-founder of the Experimental Farm Network. We are a nonprofit based technically in Philadelphia, but we are, I farm in Southern New Jersey in Salem County. I, in addition to being a seed grower and a researcher, I do a lot of my work focuses on social justice and food justice, which is how I've come to know the folks who are on this panel today. In particular, over the last year, I've been involved with an organization called the Cooperative Gardens Commission, which I mentioned at the beginning of my talk earlier today. We are a collective of folks around the country who meet and make decisions by consensus on Zoom and conference calls. And our main purpose is getting people sharing resources towards growing more food in their communities. We did a big pre-seed distribution, and we have, oh great, there the cameras seem to be spotlighted. We've got a fantastic panel today. And I'm gonna introduce the folks in no particular order because I lost the document where we decided the order, but we'll actually do the talks in that order. But they're going to each present for a little bit, and then we're going to have an open discussion and take some of your questions as well. So we have today Paige Vaccaro from NOFA-NJ, that stands for Communities Revolutionizing Open Public Spaces, and CROPS is a nonprofit based in the Atlantic City area that just does amazing work getting people container gardens, setting up farmers markets, educating people in one of the communities that struggled in the best of times, and since the pandemic hit is one of the hardest hit communities economically in the country. We also have Katia Ramirez, who you may have heard in the beginning. Katia is the food justice coordinator with CATA, which is the Farmworker Support Committee, Comité de Apoyo. I'm gonna botch the Spanish. Comité de Apoyo por los Trabajadores Agrícolas. See? Something close to that. That's the Farm Worker Support Committee, which is a farm worker led organization that's decades old, and is active in New Jersey, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. I have come to know Katia because we both work and live in the same area. And Katia, among other things, runs community gardens, which grow culturally relevant food with and for farm workers in Bridgeton, New Jersey, and in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. We also have Justin Allen, who I first met at NOFA conference some years ago. And Justin works for Isles in Trenton, which Isles helps to support about 70 gardens across Trenton. Is that the number? And Trenton as well is one of the most economically hard hit communities in the state of New Jersey. Isles has been doing this work for a long time, and a couple of the nonprofits we have featured here today are relatively small, relatively new, and Isles is an organization that has been around for a long time, has a lot of institutional support, has a lot to teach, and we're grateful that Justin and Isles have been involved in conversation with some of these smaller groups, and we're just really excited to have him here. And finally, we have there you are. We've got Sonia Harris. Sonia is the founder of the Bullock Garden Project, and based in Glassboro, New Jersey. The Bullock Garden Project is responsible for putting in school gardens, not just regionally, but all across the country. And Sonia was a seed hub for the Cooperative Gardens Commission. That's how we got to know each other. We actually live about 20-25 minutes from each other, but we didn't meet until this work brought us together during the early days of the pandemic. And Sonia is such a go-getter. I've been really inspired to see the work that she pulls together, the people that she pulls together and on a shoestring, and is doing really amazing work with gleaning, trying to make sure that we tackle the issue of food waste on farm and deal with hunger at the same time. So I think they'll each have a chance to introduce themselves as well, but I'm just really I also want to thank NOFA New Jersey for giving this opportunity to hear some voices that don't always get heard at events like this, at organizations like this, and to see 170 people tuning in for this is just really heartening. I was on a bunch of calls for NOFA New York last week, and NOFA New York is usually bigger, but this year these calls today have been about twice the size, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna be quiet for now, and I vaguely remember that we had the order right, but Paige, you were gonna go first. Yeah. All right. Without further ado, Paige Vaccaro. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. I don't know if they're going to pull up the slides. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on, Amanda.
Great,
Do you
there
have
we
the
go.
slides? Ooh, they're so tiny though. Okay.
Hang on one sec. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I can start talking. I wanted to say that I feel so excited. I can't even tell you how excited and nervous I am to be here. I went to my first NOFA program. I didn't even know what NOFA stood for. On my way there, someone explained it to me. So getting over this like imposter syndrome, like at first I was like, yeah, I'm not really a farmer. I'm more of a gardener. Is it okay if I'm here? So I wanted to speak to that, for anybody out there thinking about like, one day I want to be like these people, like, it's not as far away as you think it is. I founded Crops back in 2016. You can see our logo, our mission statement. It's interesting because when I founded it, I had a really broad sweeping idea. Most people start nonprofits with like a simple idea and then it goes big, but I had big, and I kept explaining to people like what I saw down the pike. So it's really amazing that not only did we get to the vision that I had originally, but we also have surpassed that vision. So our mission is to bring together communities, people within communities, and also between communities, not just with gardens, but also we do cleaning. We also do food giveaways. We empower people to grow in our community spaces, and also through the pandemic, thanks to Nate, we were a seed hub also. We gave out a ton of seeds at our gardens and also at our farmers markets. So now we're spreading our wings into not just empowering small entrepreneurs that are already existing, but also giving seed scholarships. That's the next leg of our work, is to empower people to get into this work. And what prevents them from being able to do that is a lot of times money and know-how and feeling intimidated, just like I felt about speaking here to you all today. So yeah, I like to say we don't just grow vegetables, we also grow people, but I don't mean that in a cannibalistic sense, so don't worry. Even though our logo is kind of like people growing. That's what I told the artist. I was like, just, you know, don't make it look too scary. If you could advance the slide, that would be great. So here's a rundown of what we've been up to. This is where we are right now. Last summer, spring through fall, we operated 4 crops market locations. Crops markets are farmers markets. We pride ourselves on only having locally produced goods and you know, farmers. That's really important to us. We screen our applicants to make sure that they're local. In cooperation with Edible Jersey and also a company called Local Line out of Canada. In the middle of a pandemic, before people even knew that you could do anything outside, we ventured out there to have a drive-through. It was online order and drive-through pickup only. Like we even designed signs so that people would put in their windshield so they wouldn't even have to, like, you know, open their window to talk to people. So that was really innovative. It was kind of scary, but we did it and it was amazing. And then by the summer, you know, people were opening up and we opened more locations to meet the need for farmers markets. Next, we maintain 4 community gardens. We have community days. We do produce giveaways, not just what we give away, but also what we get from local farmers. I'm kind of on a short call list for people who want to get rid of stuff. So sometimes it's vegetables, sometimes it's coats, sometimes it's, we've given away a lot of different things. Whatever you have, we try to help get it into the hands of people who need. We also do paid internships. Our paid internship program, I'm going to talk about on a separate slide. So we'll get into that in a moment. The interns work in the gardens and also at our farmers markets. This is a brand new program that we're launching next month. Yes, literally like in a couple of days. And it's called the Seedlings Program. And if you know anything about what's going on in New Jersey right now, there's a focus on the infant and maternal mortality rate in African Americans, particularly in Atlantic City. So I wanted to highlight this statistic here. But in Atlantic City, an African American infant mortality rate is 29 deaths per 1,000 births. The statewide rate is 4.7. So we are going to be giving out little bags to groups of women who are new mothers and expectant mothers, and they're going to be able to grow microgreens at home. Also meet on Zoom calls like this to connect with one another. They're also going to get vouchers that are redeemable at our farmers markets for vegetables. So we're working on you know, prevention and also, you know, emotional support for women and families. Okay, next slide. Okay, paid intern. I always smile when I see this picture. Our interns are like family to us. They come from I told you we're in 4 different communities. Our first interns, and we continue to get interns from the Covenant House of Atlantic City. That's a homeless shelter for youth ages 18 to 23. The internship program came from a young man who was staying at the shelter who was hearing impaired. And in order to move into the residential part of the program, you have to have income. So I was like, well, you love working in our garden club, and I was cooking with the youth and growing with them. I said, why don't we find a way to pay you and then we can be your job? So that was how it began, and it flourished. We're up to 11 interns this year. What else do we have? We also have Jesse. He's in the middle. He's been amazing. He came to us from another program that works with difficult to employ adults, whether it be you know, a criminal record or mental health issues, whatever it is. This organization helps to place them and help build their skills. So he came to us for volunteer hours. He showed up even when he was out of that program. He continued to show up, followed us on Instagram. And then when the pandemic hit, he was unemployed. So we hired him as an intern. So he worked in the gardens and also at our farmers markets, took the bus to go wherever we were, he was there. So, and then also Dakota and Kara, which are on either side of him. One is, he was only 17 in that picture, but they worked in the market in a new community called Pleasantville that we just opened to market there last summer. Okay, next slide. I also recently, I'm on the board of Sister Jean's Soup Kitchen in Atlantic City. One of our gardens, our main garden, is located in that on that property, which is an abandoned church that the nonprofit owns. The soup kitchen is not operating right now, but the garden is. So when I joined the board, the very first meeting, I said, well, if we can't feed people inside, let's feed them outside. And that idea has flourished to a garden of 18 raised beds, community days, and it just keeps growing and growing. Now we have a food pantry there. So I wanted to highlight some of these statistics. The median income in Atlantic City, $29,000 a year. The median in the state is $85,000. Another point is the number of residents below the poverty line, 37% in Atlantic City, 54.2% in children. The unemployment rate in July during the pandemic, it went from October 18% unemployment rate, which is already high. In July, we had a 46.8% unemployment rate. That's half of the city had no job and no income. Also, we have 94.6% of the homeless people in the county are in Atlantic City. That's 384 homeless individuals that were counted. So when we work in the garden, there are people walking by. We serve everybody. Like, we walk up and down the streets, we hand things to people, and it's been a beautiful, like, literally grassroots program that we run. It is a food desert. If you know anything about, if you've ever been to Atlantic City, you may not have noticed, but there's no supermarket on the island, period. There are bodegas, and that is it. They have to be able to travel off island in order to shop for food, and the access to organic food, literally next to nil, unless you can afford it in a restaurant that's very fancy. We were able to get our SNAP, whereas the only SNAP accessible farmers market. If you don't know what SNAP is, that's a food assistance program. So people are able to spend their benefits at the farmers market, which before it was completely cut off to anyone that was, on welfare, where they wouldn't be able to use those benefits at markets. We partnered with City Green, which is a organization out of North Jersey. We love you, City Green. We gave out $120 in good food bucks, and we were feeling kind of, depressed about that amount, but they were like, no, you're good. It's only the first year. You got to get the word out and everything. So, we're feeling encouraged that more and more people will come once the word gets out that, hey, you're welcome at farmers markets. It's not just for tourists and rich people. What else we have? Oh, during the pandemic, we gave away over 100 container gardens. Another issue that has come up in the conference today is about environmental racism. Like, it's one thing to empower people to grow, but what about when your land is contaminated, when you're living next to brownfield sites, when you have lead in your water? It becomes really complicated. So the container gardens is a way for us to circumvent those issues. And also, we have to grow in raised beds. We can't till the ground in Atlantic City. Also, I have the Seed Hub there and our collaborative partners, which I spoke about. Okay, next slide. All right, so here's a picture of, that's our garden at Sister Jean's Kitchen, both of those pictures. The picture in the bottom right was our first community day, and she's holding up bok choy. I gave a great lesson about bok choy. This is maybe the only time bok choy was grown in Atlantic City historically, I'm not sure though. But the kids in the neighborhood are very excited, very curious, and they come out a lot. And yeah, so how can you help us out? You can plan a visit, become a sponsor, donate. We're literally have gotten this far because we don't have any payroll, because I founded the organization, and now Lisa Newcomb is the co-president, and we're learning the ropes. We just converted to QuickBooks and, trying to do all these things so that we can start to earn a salary, because otherwise our family's going to go broke because there's only so much you can maintain. It's growing faster than the infrastructure can be built. So that's another thing I want to throw out there, like not just financial support, but also if there's anyone out there that wants to offer mentorship, and how do you get, you look at something like Isles they're going to talk next, and they're huge. They've been around for a long time. And we're not quite just a startup anymore, but it's really difficult to figure out how to keep leveling that up when the programs have a high demand, but the infrastructure, it takes time to learn how to do these things. So we have our email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We would love to have you follow us. And yeah, That's it. I don't know if I took 10 minutes or not. I tried to talk as fast as possible. I am from New York, so it's pretty easy for me. All right, thank you.
That was perfect, Paige. Thank you. And thank you for all of that work. And yeah, make sure, folks, if you can support, follow Crops on Instagram and get more information there on donating to the GoFundMe, or you can get in touch with Paige directly with her email as you see it right there.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you said Justin was going to be next. I wasn't sure. Oh no, it's Katya. That's what I thought. All right, Katya, you are up. Make sure everything's working. Katya, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nathan. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Katia Ramirez. I go by she, her. I am the Food Justice Coordinator at CATA, the Farm Worker Support Committee, or Comité de Apoyo a los Trabajadores Agrícolas. We are a farm worker organization, as the name states, although we also do work with the immigrant community in Southern New Jersey. And I did wanted to put the map in there because a lot of times when we're having conversations and we say we work in New Jersey, it's really hard to, a lot of people don't really picture how South Jersey is. And I really appreciate all the representation of Southern New Jersey today in the panel and throughout the conference. So just to get a sense of where we're located, our main office, which is where I am at the moment, is in Glassboro, New Jersey. Part of Gloucester County, and we have a smaller office in Bridgeton, New Jersey, which is part of Cumberland County, where a lot of our members live, and that's where we have one of our community gardens, and the only community garden we have here in the state of New Jersey. We also do work in Chester County, Pennsylvania, in the Delmarva Peninsula, in Maryland, which you can't really see in the map, but we do also have some members who live or reside in Delaware. So our work as an organization is that we focus in 3 branches. We do a lot of work on immigration, although not directly providing services. We do a lot of advocacy work. We have our workers' rights component of the work that we do, where we do a lot of safety trainings, wage theft claims, and other things that a lot of the farm workers or other people in the community we serve may face. And lastly is the food justice work, which is the area of work where I focus. And aside from a lot of other organizations in the area that provide services, we are a capacity building organization. We utilize the popular education methodology where folks are able to learn from and take action based on their lived experiences. And to be treated with dignity and respect. And we can move on to the second slide. Because we have quick time, 10 minutes, I just wanted to present you with some farm worker facts and figures. These are probably outdated by now, but just to get a sense of farm workers, who they are, and how many of the farm worker population we work with. So there are about 2.5 to 3 million farm workers in the United States. Nearly 72% of them identify as male, on average age of 38 years old. So they're older folks. 80% of them are Latino. 63% of farm workers are married, and 57% of workers have children. 39% are living apart from nuclear family members, and this means that a lot of them either come through a visa, like a work visa, which is known as the H-2A program, or a lot of them are here undocumented, which means haven't been to their home countries for a while and have been separated from their families. And that's the same reason why many of them are identified as male. For the most part, approximately 50% are undocumented, 50% of farm workers, and their average income is between 15,000 to almost 18,000 a year. And that's because farm workers throughout history have been excluded from labor acts, including overtime pay, minimum wage. Recently, the state of New Jersey passed the minimum wage bill, and farm workers were included, but at a different rate. So they're still somewhat excluded. Right now, I believe it's 12, and then for I'm not quite sure what the pay is for farm workers, but once 2024 hits, where everyone should be at 15 for minimum wage, farm workers are still on the lingo as to like whether they should continue getting a raise or they should keep at the raise that they will be at the time. And like I said, they've been excluded from labor protection acts.
Yesterday too.
And with this, I wanted to transition into recently, like pandemic, and how farm workers are deemed essential workers, but not really having the proper PPE or all of that provided at the workplace. People like being exposed, exposing themselves, making sure that we have food at our tables nationwide and internationally, and also exposing their families by having to go to work. A lot of families, and now speaking as the undocumented community too, had to lose an income because they had to deal with virtual learning and being there for the kids and not being able to leave their children somewhere else for a whole day, or for them to be in a room full with other children. And mainly I wanted to uplift this because a lot of the undocumented community somehow still works somewhere in the food chain, and they've been excluded from stimulus, and that has sat heavily on us as an organization. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just bring some information about like what's some of the work that we've been doing this past year. In terms of farm worker outreach, we did visited a total of 91 labor camps, and that means a lot of farms provide labor camps for farm workers to live in during the season mainly. And so during the season, we have organizers that visit farm workers and provide resources to them. So 1,000 farm workers were reached directly this past season, and we distributed about 1,500 informational materials. We shared informational materials to 1,500 people or workers, and we distributed about 10,000 masks to farm workers. In terms, we also started an Undocumented Solidarity Fund where we've raised over $185,000, where we were able to distribute over 200 individuals or families in $500 increments, which is nothing really, but to some people it was really helpful. In terms of our advocacy work, maybe some of you are familiar with the driver's license for all in New Jersey. So we've been on it this year to make sure it's been implemented. It's not gonna start, it was supposed to start in January and it's not gonna start till like May. And we also worked around pandemic health and safety regulations and the economic relief for the undocumented community. And in terms of our community gardens, we grew about 1,000 pounds of organic produce, and we partnered with other organizations that were distributing food, mainly because we were able to provide some fresh produce to some of that food that is mainly canned food or processed food. So it was need to be able to find some partners and help in that way. We also did grow a lot more of immune system herbs for many reasons, because farm workers and the undocumented community don't have access to adequate health insurance, and oftentimes it's overpriced too. So that's some of the work that we've been doing around the pandemic. And if we can move to the next slide. I wanted to dive more into our food justice program work. Our food justice program is rooted in racial, social, economic, and environmental justice, where people have access to healthy, affordable, culturally appropriated food, organic food that is produced with respect to the earth and humans. We believe that farmers should receive a fair price, and that workers should receive fair wages and safe working conditions. So this is just a picture of our garden. It doesn't look like that now. It's for those of you familiar with Berkshire, New Jersey, it's on Church Street. We've replaced some of the raised beds to cinder blocks. The space or the lot is owned by Cata, so people, we say it's like our members and our committee's land. We can move to the next slide. And so, yeah, basically wanted to share a little bit more information and more pictures and visuals around our community, like the way that our food justice program runs. The community gardens are the heart and center of our work because it provides us a learning space. We grow a lot of culturally appropriated food. We try to integrate children. This past year, we grew 9 different kinds of peppers, mainly hot peppers, because a lot of our members are of Latin American descent or from Mexico, and spicy food is essential. So that's one of the things that we focused on. We, like I said, we grew a lot of more herbs, specifically rosemary, chamomile, among others. So some pictures there to talk a little bit about our organic community gardening work. And in terms of herbal medicine, we started an herbal medicine exchange for the same reasons that I already mentioned, that a lot of our folks are not, don't have access to adequate health insurance. And so we've been doing herbal medicine exchanges since 2015, where people are able to share some of their traditional remedies and also able to learn from others. And we've partnered with an herbalry school in New York, and they usually do individual consults free of charge with the community. Next slide. And we use agroecology. We bring agroecology in as an organizing tool. I'm told that my time is up, so I just want to wrap this up. I just wanted to say that we started market days this year. It's something new that we started. We do exchanges with other organizations doing the same work. We try to integrate methods that are sustainable for the planet, and we bring in culture into the work that we do. And maybe we can skip the rest and just to the slide where it says get involved. You can support in the Southern New Jersey Undocumented Solidarity Fund. I don't know, many of you are familiar with DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. We are recruiting volunteers because a lot more youth who arrive in the U.S. At a certain age qualify with the new bill. Yeah, we need more volunteers. There's a lot more people to get help with the application. And if you have any other food justice related help that any other help that you want to help with, you can support us with tool or seed donations. If you want to volunteer working at the garden or doing a workshop, there's my email, the phone number, and then you can find more information in our website, as well as in our social media handles.
So these people, they have been.
Sorry for taking too long.
No, you're good. Thank you, Katya. That was awesome. And I wanted you to make sure you see the note in that somebody just posted in the chat too. Somebody your last NOFA presentation inspired. And I also just wanted to urge people that I've signed up for that DACA volunteer thing. The process is not that complicated, and they definitely could use more help. So you can follow them on Facebook, Kata Farm Workers, or on Instagram to get in touch, or go to the website. You see it right there. All right, wonderful. And Justin, we're going to pass it to you without further ado.
All right, hello everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to say that I'm honored, grateful, and humbled to be a part of this and among such great participants and presenters, and also the community I work with and serve. So I'm gonna aim for brevity, which is a challenge for me sometimes. So we'll jump right in. You can move to the next slide. ISLES.org is our website. We do a lot. I'm going to briefly talk about some of the other work we do, but not spend too much time on that, and then focus on the urban agriculture. So you can move on to the next slide. So before I start going over that, you guys can take a look at that. I did grow up in North Jersey, roughly between Paterson and New York City. I was fortunate enough to grow up with a lot of diversity, a lot of friends of different cultures, and got to experience that, which was amazing. And great. And I went to Rutgers, which is very diverse. I worked in Newark since 2012 for about 5 years, and then now in Trenton. So that's a little bit of my history. I've been gardening since I was a child, as early as I can remember. So ISLES does a lot more than urban agriculture. Our website, you can get into more detail, find out more, or touch base with me offline. So we have an alternative high school with some of the Trenton youth, which is an amazing program. We work with them in urban agriculture at times, doing some of their internships after they get their high school equivalencies. And I get to see them graduate and their families come out, which is also pretty amazing. And we also work with people to build wealth, either get them out of debt or to help them invest. We have, I think we're certified by the state for new home buyers workshops. We also do trainings for lead remediation and a lot of healthy homes work, and working to go into people's homes and see if they have leaky roofs or poor insulation. And we also train people through other programs that we do. And we do urban agriculture, we build gardens, work with the city and parks, and revitalize communities. We do purchase some properties to renovate and fix up neighborhoods in that way. You can move on to the next slide. So urban agriculture, as mentioned earlier, we support roughly 70 gardens around the city. Most of them are in Trenton, some are outside the city, but not many, in Ewing and Hamilton. And our ISLES Garden Support Network provides seeds, seedlings, fertilizer, compost, soil, workshops. We also acquire permits for possibly land use. We do have a large garden on the DNR Canal property, and hydrant permits so people can access water, which everyone knows is critical. We might till some gardens and get them ready for the season, providing water access or catchment, and working with gardeners to do that in gardens, testing soil. As you all are aware, in urban centers, most of the soil is not adequate to grow in, contaminated. We also do consultations and come out and work with people to give them ideas and ways that they can improve their gardens. We might do garden rebuilds if they're falling apart, or one in particular, we identified extremely high lead levels. They were gardening in ground. It was an old pottery factory land, so the lead levels were through the roof. So we went and built 20 garden beds, filled it with soil. Anybody that has to move soil knows how challenging and how much work that is, especially when it's wet. And we do a lot more. I'm big on empowerment and not management. So we do have a space that I'll mention that we manage, but the 70 gardens, we're providing resources and empowering people to get the work done and grow food in the communities for themselves and the communities they live in. And I'm always saying that I like to hold hands and guide people, but I'm trying to let them go. And if they need to revisit things and you want to hold my hand again, sure, that's great. You know, teaching people how to fish and then kind of letting them do their thing, and they can pass that knowledge on to others. I think it's very important. You can move on to the next slide. So in addition to the Isles Garden Support Network, Urban Agriculture. We have an incubator training garden. There's a woman at the Yolanda at the bottom right corner, which is one of our incubator gardeners last year. We have 12 beds that we work with gardeners through the season. We do workshops early on, and then we have open hours on a weekly basis. And that the goal of that is to increase the capacity of gardeners around the city. We joke that we kick them out after that. They can come back and visit, but we'd rather them work at their home or in community gardens around the city. We also participate in Green Gwinnett Farmers Market. YMCA is the anchor of that. Norris Farms in Hillsborough is the main farmer there that provides a lot. And we get incentivized dollars to that market, which is great. We've run a Camp Carrot program for the past 3 years. This past year wasn't the same, but you'll see the photo of some young girls harvesting potatoes. And that was amazing that we teach them how to cook healthy meals, and we do field trips and get them out of the city. And that was a wonderful camp that we ran. And we also have a seed library at the Trenton Free Public Library, which is in an old card catalog, which is really cool. You can move on to the next slide. And we also donate fresh produce. Before market started in June, we grew a whole early season of cool weather crops to donate. The photo you see there was a very late season harvest, as you can tell, which was probably after market before a frost, lots of green tomatoes. And we do vacant lot beautification and revitalization around the city. School gardens, that's a huge part of our programming. We have this year, two AmeriCorps service members. So we work closely with a few schools. I think we're one garden shy of 100% of the schools in the city, public schools with school gardens. And we also have beehives. We roughly have 12. And I'd like to mention that we've won first place New Jersey Beekeeper Association for the second year in a row for the black box category, best tasting honey in the state. And you can go to the next slide. These are just a couple photos of the Tucker Street location. So at the bottom left corner is our production site on city property. Half of that site is production for market and donations, and the other half is our training garden. And when I started with Isles in 2017, we installed an orchard, a community orchard that's intentionally outside of the fence with about 65 fruit trees of various varieties for an extended harvest. Cherries, peaches, Asian pears, plums, apples, and persimmons. And then there's an aerial view above that. And then I just wanted to mention Capital City Farm, which we've worked to help get that started. We don't currently manage or do much in that space, but it is a very large space in the city of about 2.5 acres. Next slide. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Justin. And without any further ado, so we can still have time for a question or two, Sonia Harris.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Sonia Harris, NJ garden teacher. I was a teacher at this school, Dorothy L. Bullock Elementary in Glassboro, New Jersey. And this is the garden that you can see right here. It's a little transparent, that I started. Fun fact, had no experience with gardening at all. Never wanted to touch dirt. I had a landscaper at my home. I can't even tell you what kind of plants I had there. But I knew as a special educator that getting kids re-engaged with the earth was important. So I learned, and I had the help from a person who had a show on HGTV, DIY Yard Crashers, if some of you remember that. Ahmed Hassan came and helped out. And, you know, this is what we created, this outdoor classroom space that we actually paid $0 for. This was all donated. But what I learned over this time, not only how critical it was for kids to have an outdoor space to reconnect with nature, but as a teacher, as a special educator, and this school is first, second, and third grade, when I had babies coming to school and I'd say, get your lunch, guys, it's time to go. And they were grabbing a Huggy Juice and a bag of chips. And that's it, because that's all their parents could afford. Because this school is bordered by low-income housing developments, 2 low-income housing developments. Glassboro houses Rowan University. Rowan University. So there's a lot of fast food. There's a lot of not great food around. And I knew that when we were doing this, this had to be a spot that our kids and their families could come and harvest from. So this is not just a garden. This is actually a foodscape. So we can go to the next slide. I'm up here. I was getting ready to start clicking. This is me at home. This is my thing, empowering the world through garden education. We need to re-engage our children with the earth, and not just us as parents, but as teachers, as adults. We need to be the lead example for this, and we need to help this happen. And you can slide forward. Next slide. There, thank you. This is actually the mission of my nonprofit. Now, as a teacher, I, was working in the garden. Oh, nope, go back. Here we go. I was working in the garden, and one of the things that started happening, we were here and the kids loved it. You can see that there's a resident from one of the housing developments who was there harvesting. And like I said, this is a school garden, but we started getting a lot of recognition. And I had teachers contacting me from all over the state going, how did you do this? How did you do this? How did you get this by your school board? And I was like, I didn't ask. It was for the kids. I didn't ask. I just started doing it. And once the higher ups found out what was going on, and my superintendent was 100%, I'm behind you. If you have a problem, you let me know. Because this was all about the kids. I never said, hey guys, this is our garden. I always marketed to the children and had children buy in, because it's like that middle row of the cereal aisle where all the sweet cereals are in the middle. You market this to kids. You want them to eat vegetables. You want them to grow healthier. You get them engaged and you make this theirs. And these kids protect that garden. So from this, and you can go to the next slide, I ended up just working and actually creating the nonprofit from what we did, from being engaged with these kids and traveling throughout the state to tell other teachers how I did it. And that's how it got the name, the Bullock Garden Project. And you can go ahead to the next one. So, I'm really quick. I don't know if it's that teacher thing. So what we did, we ended up, becoming an actual nonprofit in 2017. And from there, we just exploded. Some of the things that happened within the first year of having this garden, I received the very first Best in New Jersey award from the Department of Agriculture. Our Secretary of Ag, Doug Fisher, actually came and helped build this garden. We had Jersey Fresh involved. We had volunteers from all over the country that descended on this little space. And now, as Bullock Garden Project, we have partners all over the globe, and we help build gardens all over the globe. Like Paige said, there's no pay in this. I retired October 1st, 2019. I am too young to collect my pension, to collect my insurance, all of that. 25 years as an educator. But you know what drives me? This that you see on your screen, this passion, these children that go home and tell their parents, I want this. I want Jersey Fresh vegetables. I had parents stopping me in the streets. How'd you get my kid to eat kale? And I went, they grew it. They grew it. And now what we're doing with Get Up and Grow, you can go ahead to the next slide.
I don't have any more slides, Sonia. I'm sorry.
Oh, there should be okay. Well, do you mind if I share screen?
No, not at all. Here, hang on one second. I'll stop.
All right. So let me jump in here. Sorry about that. Let me jump in and share my screen really, really quick. Sorry. sorry. Present. Okay, hold on. This switch. We're doing a little quick switch. Okay. So, oh, that was here. It was me with Doug Fisher actually getting the award. But what happened to it? Sorry, guys. I said I was going to be quick, and then, you know, I got in here and glitched it. Oh, here we go. So being able to come in and do these workshops. This is our workshop that we do, and I actually did one today, the Get Up and Grow workshop. And what we're doing, we do free workshops for people. And we actually show them how to grow food indoors. It's possible. I grew like beans and peas up my front window of my house, and it's not a southern window. It gets morning light only. But we show people how to grow and how to grow on a tight budget. And we've been fortunate enough to now partner with Atlanticare, the Cooperative Gardens Commission. Oh my God, Nate and Paige and everyone here that we've been able to work with. We have partnered with the EPA on gleaning and being able to rescue food and get it into the bodies, the hands, the mouths of the people who need it. We do free customized workshops here in Glassboro in partnership with Rowan University and the New Jersey Health Initiatives. And we are here to make a difference. All of us are here to make a difference. And I'm just saying this like really, really quick. We are passionate about growing. So please, if you can, this is my information. I'm NJ Garden Teacher across every social media platform. I have them all, TikTok and Snapchat and everything. But if you want to come say hi to us at Bullock Garden Project, please do. Please come volunteer, get involved. We connect with everyone here. And like I said, we also work around the globe. So seeing the work that happens in other countries, I get really upset what's happening here. There's no reason why any child, any family, any person here in America should go to bed hungry. There's no reason why a child should come to school with a Huggy drink and a bag of chips because that's all their parents can afford, because the little bodega in the front doesn't carry one lick of fresh food. We have to change this. So all of us, all of you who are here and all of us on this panel, we have to commit to do better, and we will do better. So I'm going to step off of my soapbox and thank everyone for taking time to listen. But this is why we are here and making this change. Urban growing isn't just about creating these beautiful outdoor spaces. We have to look at how are we feeding people? How are we nourishing them? What difference are we making in their lives? That's what's happening in our urban communities, and that's what we have to do. That's where the food apartheid is. And let's make a change together. That's it.
Well, wow. So, yeah.
I don't know how to stop sharing. There you go.
Thank you all so much for doing this and for all of the amazing work that you're doing. Yeah, why don't you put your emails in the chat too, so that people can just copy it and paste it to get in touch with you. Put any other information you want to stick in the chat. That would be great. We don't have much time, but we're gonna throw in one or two questions. There was a question in the chat that Katya gave a thorough answer to about why the food justice certification is important. I urge people to take a look at that. A question for Paige was if you could talk about some of the benefits and challenges of having markets that are Wick and SNAP authorized.
I can talk about this real quickly. I want to give a shout out to co-president Lisa Newcomb, who spent literally 5 months getting us SNAP certified. So one of the drawbacks is just literally the paperwork. And it's also intimidating because you have all these signs like, you know, you will go to jail if you defraud the system and all. Like there's a lot of red tape around it. And also one of the other drawbacks is just getting the word out, especially during COVID. It's like we can't just go into the you know, Department of Human Services and put up flyers and let people know. So we have started a food democracy collaborative. Janine can put the info in, Janine Cava's on here. She's heading up that collaborative, and we are working to connect all these organizations and also with the state organizations so that, we can get the word out. Because it's a really huge program to get people access to local foods where normally they can only go to Walmart or the bodega or wherever except SNAP. So yeah, so it's really a positive program, but it's just the challenge is getting people to know about it.
Awesome. And I will do one more question. This one's for Sonia. How do you cope with the inevitable moving on of your most involved parents as their kids age out of school? Where's the continuity within the school to keep these gardens going year after year?
Oh my goodness. You just keep, first of all, I always tell people this cannot be started by PTA parents, teachers, none of that. It has to belong to the children. So if it belongs to the children pass on that excitement. So in that school, we had first, second, and third grade. They were so excited when those kids moved up to the fourth grade building, fourth, fifth, and sixth in Glassboro. Guess what started over at the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade building? A garden. Then guess what started at the seventh and eighth grade building? A garden. So we're actually coming back in now, and we're going to be doing gardens for the high school and for the pre-KK building, because the children kept this going. If you want something to be successful, you have to start at that level where they're sponges. I tell people all the time, you want to go like all the Hort people, you go and you want to talk to kids who are in college or, young adults, high schoolers, you're missing it. You got to get them when they're little. When they're little, they'll take all of that in, and they are so passionate about that. They keep it going. And when they want it and they have that demand and teachers see it, they're going to want that there. Bullock Garden is still going. It needs a little new love because it's been 6 years, 7 years, 5 years. It's been a while. It's been a while. So you just keep that, like I said, you keep that passion going. One of the things that I did, because it's in a low income area, sorry, I'm just being a little long. Everyone told me to fence it. You have to fence it. You have to fence it. It's going to get damaged. We had one vandalism incident, and guess what? The kids, first, second, and third graders, found out who it was, told the school resource officer. He came to me and I was like, you do what you have to do. They went to the house. It's never been vandalized again. And that was in 2015. That was right after it was built. And it was just a couple tomatoes thrown at a window. But those children still defend it. So you want to keep it going? Make that ownership on the children.
Sonia, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm just looking at the chat coming through. It's clear that you all are inspiring everybody out there. And yeah, we still have 168 viewers on this, so you're holding folks' attention. And I hope everybody out there will support these fantastic organizations however you can. Volunteer, give money, follow them on social media, share their stories with your friends. These are the work that these folks are doing obviously deserves so much love and support. Yeah, thank you all so much for doing this and for inspiring me every day. And I love you all. Thanks.
Yeah, what did we tell you? We said
Totally
excellent.
righteous, man.
Excellent. So thank you for being excellent to one another. All right, so we are gonna gear up for our next spotlight.
A lot of today we've talked about the importance of seed. I mean, all these plants grow, all these ideas grow.
Little kids are seeds.
The little
that
kids, they
grow.
like the seeds. It's
Plant
all
the
about the
seeds.
seeds.
Plant
So
these.
we've got some a really excellent panel of. Here I go again with the excellent thing. Can't get away.
Can't shake it.
An excellent panel of presenters from the seed companies that we like to work with and that have been supporting us here at NOFA.
Yep, organic seed companies.
Okay, so guys, maybe it's Nagisa.
Hey, Nagisa.
So
Hey.
maybe I'll take it away. I think we're going to start with Laura Goldshine. She's from, there she is. Laura's
Yes.
from High
Hello,
Mowing.
everyone.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna.
just going to get my
Good, good.
Slides.
Yeah, so Laura's going to share her, I think Laura's going to share her slides, and then we're going to have Heron. Heron, are you there? There he is. And then Heron will be followed by Marcello. And is Alexandra going to join you? Yes. Okay, good. All right. And then Nate will come back and talk about his seed company. And then we're over to Mike Rasweiler, who's going to talk about a resource library that NOFA's developed. Okay, so Laura, over to you.
All right, excellent. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. And thanks so much to the NOFA New Jersey coordinators for giving High Mowing an opportunity to participate in this session. My name is Laura Goldshine. I'm the commercial grower sales representative for the Mid-Atlantic region here at High Mowing Organic Seeds. So for those of you who are not familiar with High Mowing, we were founded in 1996 by Tom Stearns, currently in our 25th catalog season. We are based in Northern Vermont, but we serve growers throughout the United States and Canada. All of these seeds that we carry are 100% certified organic and non-GMO project verified. And we currently offer over 700 varieties of vegetable, herb, flower, and cover crop seed. So, my apologies. So today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what's happening this season at High Mowing. I'm hoping that by the end of my time here, you'll have some insight into how we procure seed, some of the current challenges facing organic seed production and variety availability, and how High Mowing is working to meet the increased demand for organic seed that we have seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm going to end by highlighting a few of our new additions for 2021. So the two primary channels that we obtain seed through are vendors and contracts. Vendors include breeder producers such as Bijou Vitalis and Cicada Seeds. Obtaining seed through vendors is a relatively efficient and streamlined process for us. We're usually able to move that seed quickly through our quality control department. They do the seed cleaning and an amount of testing as well. So the other channel through which we obtain seed is contract productions. We have between 30 to 40 active contract growers each season. And contracts are primarily utilized to bring new varieties to market or to switch up or diversify our sourcing for a particular variety. There are a number of challenges that are currently impacting organic seed production and variety availability, pandemic aside, and the most important of which is probably climate change. Extreme and unusual weather patterns can have major impacts on seed crops, and that's particularly relevant for biennials that require more than one season to produce viable seed. Measuring demand in advance, particularly for a new variety, can be difficult. The increased demand that we're seeing now during the pandemic did impact how we forecast our projections for this season. Blind spots regarding seed production performance can cause problems down the line if a variety ends up being a poor seed producer. Oftentimes we'll do a test production, which is a guaranteed contract to ensure that the producer is paid a fixed amount, even if the crop does fail. And these smaller initial productions allow us to see how it will perform going forward. Pest and disease pressure is impacting seed production on a global scale. A specific example would be the lygus bug or Western tarnished plant bug. And that is currently having impacts on organic carrot seed production worldwide. So it's causing short crops, lower germination rates. And this is a pest that's really more damaging on the organic side of things. Conventional ag has a wider range of control measures that we cannot utilize. And it's also worth mentioning that organic ground is becoming a more and more limited resource, and that can have implications for isolation space, which is necessary for a number of crops to produce seed. And this factor sometimes does limit us in the number of contracts that we're able to place in any given season. So how is high mowing working to mitigate these challenges to production? When we're able to, we're placing multiple contracts to ensure that we're growing seed where it grows best. We select varieties that are bred in and for organic conditions while aiming to support breeding for resilience. We're investigating seed production performance early on, which is where those test productions come into play. We contract for a multi-year supply of seed whenever possible, and also utilize parallel productions. So parallel productions refer to when we contract the same variety at multiple locations. And this helps to ease any impacts that a single crop failure at one location may have on overall supply for a given variety in a season. We also try to identify multiple varieties that fill the same slot. And this can be especially challenging with an all organic selection. And when I say slot, an example of that would be something like a red round slicing tomato. Having some redundancy in the collection does reduce that risk that can be posed by crop failures. You can't deny the impacts of the pandemic on our food system at every level, and that does include seed companies. High mowing has taken a lot of care and consideration in working to both meet the increased demand for organic seed and maintain an efficient workflow. So the uptick in sales volume that we saw last season did draw down inventory, but we've taken a bunch of steps to rebuild our bulk. So from a procurement and inventory management standpoint, we're increasing our inbound purchase orders whenever we're able to. This pertains primarily to varieties that we're bringing in from vendors, but we are actively securing any overages on contracts as well. So for example, if we place a contract for 15 pounds of a particular variety and the contract ends up producing 20 pounds of seed, we are bringing in that additional 5 pounds. So we've implemented some really rigorous COVID protocols to ensure a safe working environment at our warehouse. And we've made improvements to existing systems so that we're able to maintain an efficient workflow in the seed packing and fulfillment departments. And while we significantly increased projections for this season, we are also packing to those projections earlier than we've been able to in the past. So this means that we have more seed on the shelf. There is more packed inventory available for shipping. It's made a big difference. And right now we are running 2 shifts in our packing and fulfillment departments. It is the peak sales season, and that 2-shift schedule just started this past week. So what do we recommend that you do to ensure that you have the seed that you need when you need it? I would suggest by starting by identifying the varieties that you think are critical to your operation. If you're in the position to do so, I would recommend securing those early on. I encourage you all to be flexible. There are always going to be certain varieties that are either limited or unavailable in any given season. That is the nature of the industry. But if you stay open to trying something new or different, you might stumble upon something that you actually really like and want to keep in your crop plan. It's nice to have an amount of extra seed on hand to account for any seeding mishaps or changes to a planting plan. So basically, if you know you need 100 plants of a certain variety, don't just order 100 seeds. I would say that this is more of a consideration for commercial growers planting on a larger scale. And we do recommend this as a general practice in any given season. This is by no means solely related to COVID and any any related impacts to availability because of that. And finally, be sure not to forget about your fall plantings. So make sure you have what you need on hand when you need it. I encourage you all to be organized and thinking about those later in the season plantings and varieties that you are going to want for that sooner rather than later. All right, and now I would like to highlight a few of our new additions for 2021 that I'm particularly excited about. This is the Shiku Eggplant. This is the first organic hybrid Asian type eggplant on the market. It is coming to us from Cicada Seeds. It produces really uniform, deep purple fruit with that dark purple calyx. These plants were gorgeous in our trials last summer. It's about a week, 10 days earlier in terms of days to maturity compared to the Ping Tung Long, which is our other lighter purple Asian type eggplant. So you'll be able to bring this one to market sooner, but it is a really nice complement to any eggplant selection that you are already maybe partial to. This is the Bellevue lettuce, a pelleted red oak leaf variety coming to us from Vitalis. And we do have this listed in the mini section of our catalog, but it's versatile enough that it can be grown for full-size heads as well. This performed really well in our trials across all of the seasonal slots. It's highly bolt resistant, excellent field holding capacity. We found it to be a particularly uniform producer of really dense, beautiful maroon heads, and it has that vibrant lime green core. I really like this one. It's well suited to commercial production, and the heads are sturdy enough to stand up to the most vigorous of wash pack processes. And I will say that it holds very nicely in the cooler after that as well. This is the early summer pepper coming to us from Cicada Seeds. This is a new addition to our green to yellow colored bell pepper selection. It's going to be about 65 days to green, closer to 85 for yellow. Early summer is a really nice, large, blocky pepper. It has a broad disease package. It's a great candidate for field production. So there's no need to reserve room in the tunnel for this variety. It's a very consistent producer of uniform thick-walled fruits. They're going to be about 4 to 5 inches. I was impressed by the flavor and texture. It was very sweet and crisp and had great flavor even as a green bell. And it's also worth noting that these plants demonstrated tolerance to a range of less than ideal environmental conditions in our trials. We were dealing with a lot of drought up there, and it just performed unbelievably well. This is the Zalvadora Lettuce, another one of my favorite mini varieties from our partners at Vitalis. It's available as pelleted seed only, like the Bellevue. It is a true mini romaine that's extremely well suited to succession plantings and performs well across all seasonal slots. I would say that this is one of the better varieties if you want something with an extended harvest window, really excellent field holding capacity. It also has a robust disease package, which includes high resistance to downy mildew races 1 through 9, definitely a consideration in this region. We recommend pairing this with the Truchus, which is our garnet mini romaine that has a lime green center, and that's just a really nice way to round out your mini romaine selection. And finally, we have the chocolate sprinkles tomato. So this variety comes to us from Pan American Seed. I find this one to be just so aesthetically pleasing. The fruits have a really deep red background. They have that gorgeous green streaking. It's a really striking addition to mixed pints for market. And I would say that this is a great home garden variety, but it's also an excellent choice for greenhouse growers that have room to trellis a high yielding productive variety and who want to fully utilize that vertical space. This tomato does produce over a very long harvest window, so just be mentally prepared for that. The plants are very productive. The fruits are really crack resistant, consistently around 1 ounce in size. I would say that this is a 1.5 bite tomato, so not too large to be included in a mixed pint. It also has a solid disease package. I really can't say enough good things about this one. It tastes great. It looks beautiful. I'm looking forward to growing it this season. And that is all that I have for today. Thank you all so much for your time. I've included my contact information here. And if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to send me an email. I will be sure to drop that in the chat. And I will unshare here.
Good afternoon, folks. Thank you, Laura. And I am just hoping that the Zoom gods favor us, me, and if they do not, I will probably just go to just straight audio, because sometimes video and audio. I'm calling in from Maine. My name is Heron Breen. I work for Fedco Seeds, and Laura just did like basically all the heavy lifting. So everything that Laura shared in terms of how organic seed and how seed in general and how seed companies work to handle stress, that is all of the same for most of us, I would say, or all of us in different scales and different focuses. And I'd also like to give a moment to say hello to Alexandra Villard, because we have had a little relationship selling them bean seed to grow some of their pests for their lab. So much appreciated to their work. So I guess what I want to touch on today, I don't have slides. So I was kind of asked at the last moment to come in. So I'm kind of come in with more of just a discussion about what we're seeing in terms of customer behavior, what we're seeing in stress in the seed company realm, and what you all should know and think about. The first thing to think about is that when we're doing seed work, all of the companies that most of us work with or buy from, including myself, I buy from a number of seed companies. I also have my own farm. We are all person-based businesses. We're not big box stores. We're not companies named after very long rivers. We try to treat our workers, our co-workers, ourselves well. And we've all been under a heck of a lot of stress, as everyone in this Zoom room has been over the last year, both personally, but also professionally. We didn't realize that we were essential workers until last spring. So when somebody told us that we were essential after years of just thinking we were selling seeds. And while we are all very honored to serve each of you, both gardeners and farmers, I want to offer some insight into what that looks like. Just like all businesses, we're being asked, and our co-workers demand that we keep safe distance from each other and populate our warehouses based upon the state and federal guidelines, which means that we are having to create second shifts or third shifts, like Laura explained. And that means not that we have more people, that basically we're still pulling the same number of orders, but we're doing it over the course of a couple shifts, because we can only have so many people pulling orders within a certain timeline or within a certain square footage. So this means that even though a business may have 2 shifts, it doesn't mean they're pulling more orders than they normally would in a day, or they're only pulling a certain percentage more. So all of us have kind of identified, I can just say at Fedco, we've identified how many orders we can safely pull in a day or in a week, given those guidelines. And so when you see the restrictions of intake and output that seed companies were placed under last spring, and now we're all seeing that today, almost all of that has to do with us being person-based businesses, just like your farms, just like your homes, just like your gardens. It's about people. We can't just fill a warehouse full of people to suddenly meet fulfillment. It is not about a reactionary process. Seed is a living object, and your farm's a living object, and your gardens are living organisms. All these things are living organisms. And so we're dealing with the flow of a product that is both finite but renewable. So the product itself there's only so much seed that can be grown in a certain field in a year. Many of the seed contracts that were placed in 2020 were placed before the pandemic hit. So most of us had already either ordered seed or had created contracts with growers to grow seed for us before any of the sort of understanding of length of this or the seriousness of this would have been known. And so there's only so much more seed that could be grown given what we didn't understand at the moment, say in March. And the same is true with all of the collaborators that we have all over the world or all over the country. Everybody sort of is in the position of saying, hey, I have enough seed, I have enough ground, this is what I can grow, and we're hoping that this will be enough. So normally a seed company orders seed or asks for a seed crop to be grown that's 2 to 3 years worth of production, because that's where the quality maintains for the customer, regardless of scale. We don't want to get too far out. We don't want to have the seed get old, et cetera, et cetera. So when we come into a production cycle and then the customer demand is basically eats up that 2 years worth of supply, then of course we are in a position of needing to either out of stock that back order, look for another supply, or sell that overage, as Laura explained, and cycle back into a new production. So while you're seeing limits now on things, or that there's the normal sort of ebb and flow of varietal stuff, it just means, hey, stuff will be fine. Like seed is a thing that can be grown. There's not really a seed shortage. What there really is us trying to serve you in a way that can keep us human and keep our folks, our businesses sustainable, and our folks sane. And so what I'm just here today is just to say, hey, think about it this way. If we want to promote the garden groups and food production that communities need, maybe, and I really just appreciate being able to listen to Sonia in the last session, maybe the limits that we're all sort of rushing to kind of be, wherever it's a Fedco or another company that's open for so many days or so many hours before we have to turn off our capacity. Maybe if we step back for a little bit and ask ourselves what it is that we need, and maybe let some other folks that haven't been able to shop, who need these seeds to feed their communities, even if we just took a week or two in honor and respect of those garden groups and those community food banks and all those other folks, maybe we might take a little bit of pressure off. And that's kind of where we're seeing is that at Fedco, that we have a backlog of orders. We're having to limit some things so we can catch up with those backlogs. Once we catch up with those backlogs, we hope to be able to serve everyone. But we still have to be within that framework of what's safe. So we're not seeing a shortage of seed. We're within a capacity of a small business trying to serve our wonderful folks. And just maybe take a question for yourself and think beyond the prioritizing and being sane about choices. Think about who else could be served in this moment while I scurry to place my order. Could someone else be benefiting from my place in line? And if that is the case, take a break for 2 weeks. Don't worry, we have seed. It's not perfect, but it'll work. And that's what I came to say today. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Really appreciate your thoughts. Now I think we're going over to Marcello, and he's going to share some ideas and thoughts on the Beneficial Insect Lab. And there's Alexandra. Welcome both. And folks, this is a little bit unusual, but we have never had the Insect Lab talking to the NOFA community. So I thought it would be really helpful to have these two wonderful folks actually share what they're doing. And I think you'll be very intrigued by what they have to say. So over to you two. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just going to do a brief introduction. I'm going to pass it over to Alex, but I want to introduce myself. My name is Marcello Mangano, and we work for the Department of Agriculture, Division of Plant Industry. And in particular, we work for the Beneficial Insect Rearing Laboratory. And I appreciate you guys squeezing us in. It was kind of a last minute thing, but we really want to be part of this conversation. And what brought us to this occasion is my arrival to the Beneficial Insect Rearing Laboratory, where we sat down with the scientists, we did an evaluation of our process, and we wanted to know how we could better benefit the community and what we could offer based on our available resources. And I felt through through our history, we've been established since the mid 80s, that our relationships with the farming community has kind of just changed. We certainly serve the community, but it's more forestry, environmental, and a few farms. But I feel like we could do a better job in working with the farming community, particularly the organic farming community, who may benefit the most from our programs, and collaborate with you guys and see, what the problems you have in the field, where we are, and how we can be of service to help you address this. And, just in the few moments I was waiting to give this conversation, I heard a few things already. I heard 2 seed companies or seed manufacturers discuss some of the issues they're facing. One was, Laura mentioned, the tarnished plant bug. Alex can discuss it, but we have a parasitoid, a small wasp, to deal with that as well to help out. And also, I'm not new to the department. I've been there for 22 years, but I am also the official state seed analyst as well. So if there's issues with registering products in the state, getting stuff evaluated and tested within the state, it comes to one of my additional laboratories as well. So it doesn't have to, I don't have to serve you just in the capacity of beneficial insects. So if you do, we could talk about that later on. But for the moment, we'll talk about beneficial insects. So during this conversation, I started almost a year ago in March, when the pandemic started. We are also 7 days a week. We care for living organisms, and unfortunately, we can't take a day off. We try to work smart, try to be smart, but unfortunately, we can't, when you care for these things, you can't just take a day off or walk away from them. But we've been successful. We've been incredibly safe, and we've had a very good year, needless to say. So we do have many success stories about New Jersey. I don't know how many in the group's ever heard of us, but we're located in Ewing, New Jersey. And we deal with the farming community limited. And I noticed when we were taking orders, because we sell online, that a lot of the orders have been going to other states for organic farms. And I was kind of scratching my head, and I said, how come New Jersey's not taking advantage of this? I wish we could better serve the state. So we came up with an idea to kind of introduce ourselves and give you guys an opportunity to try it before you buy it, to see if you like it. We've had really incredible success dealing with Mexican bean beetle. So if you're a bean grower or you work at a community garden and you're having issues, we're here to offer you for 1 year. Alex, I'll turn it over to you. I just want to do a quick part. The opportunity for you to take advantage of that. We'll provide you with a small wasp to deal with it. We only ask a few things in return. The first is safe access to your farm. If you have something like a pick your own, we might place a small sign that says, New Jersey Beneficial Insect Site or something along those lines. And just have a conversation with my field folks. If you're a larger bean grower, I'd like to have my field staff go out and speak with you in advance. We can't hit all of the locations if it's a very popular thing, but we're certainly going to try our best to meet your expectations. So we could do one of 2 things. If it's a larger farm, I will send a field crew out to discuss it with you. If it's a smaller one, we'll ship something to you with instructions, and we'll discuss how you release them and when to release them. And Alex will dig into that a little bit more. I just want to give a general oversight of what we do and what we're trying to accomplish today. Alex?
All right, and you guys can see the screen share at this point? Okay, great. So I'm just gonna touch back very briefly on the previous slide and let you guys know what other things we have going on. Of course, I missed putting tarnished plant bug as one of our current insect projects, but we have a Mexican bean beetle project. We're working on biocontrol for spotted lanternfly, biocontrol for brown marmorated stink bug, as well as a couple of weeds, mile-a-minute weed, black swallowworts, which is just starting to come into New Jersey, and Japanese knotweed. But the main thing, as Marcello said, we wanted to let you guys know about today is the bean beetle project, which is very popular with out-of-state organic growers, but for some reason, many New Jersey growers are unaware of, as well as learn what other pest problems that you're dealing with in case we're able to be on the lookout for new insects in the future. So Pediobius foveolatus is a tiny beneficial wasp. Probably many of you are at least familiar in concept with biocontrol and beneficial insects for targeting pests. This has been in use in New Jersey since the 70s. We're actually the only lab, as far as we know, in the United States that has the wasp. So when you see it for sale from like a large distributor of pest control insects, it's actually coming from us. So this is our little lady. She's very pretty under the microscope, but very, very small. I'll show you an image of what the size comparison looks like even to a bean beetle larvae. She's native to India. So unlike many biocontrol, classic biocontrol that you may or may not be familiar with, this insect never establishes a population. So we continually release it each summer as bean beetle populations appear. And it kind of acts a little bit more like a biological pesticide, almost like a treatment that's very specific to, you're releasing in an area and then the next year it's gone. There's no continual effect, except on your pest populations, hopefully. So as I said, this has been released since the 70s. People are generally pleased with it. We do have a lot of repeat customers. I'd say probably we see at least 70 or 80% of our people coming back every year. I just have a continual list of our normal customers that ask every year. There's a lot of demand in the Northeast, a lot of demand from Pennsylvania. Some of the Pennsylvania Dutch really enjoy Pedioius for their crops, Mid-Atlantic, and then even down to parts of the South and the Midwest. Anyone who's growing beans, really. So here's a very pretty image of a bean beetle larvae, which you probably know they're only so big, and the wasp is even magnitude smaller than that. So this is not something you're going to be seeing flying around if you do release it. But they're very effective. So what happens is the wasp goes and is able to get around all those nasty looking spines and lays eggs inside the larvae, and about 25 usually develop. So then as the larvae continues to eat, it actually gets eaten from the inside, which is kind of gruesome, but ends up killing the larvae, which is what you want. So they're not eating your bean plants. So rather than getting these nice yellow pupae, which you see on the right, you end up with these brown dried up husks that used to be bean beetle larvae that never get to pupate. And this is actually one of the things that people enjoy about this product, is that you're able to actually see the results, whereas many other biological controls, you kind of release it and then you never really see the effect. Whereas this one, our field guys will tell us they put out some wasp and then come back a week or two later and they just turn over leaves and just see all the dead larvae there, which is kind of nice. You can actually see it's working. So as Marcello mentioned, this year we're trying to just raise awareness in New Jersey within the state. And we're offering 2,000 wasps, which is within the bounds of like a normal order that someone would use for the season. So maybe like 1,000 to 2,000 would be average. You'll get updates on the availability of other beneficials. You'll have access to additional insects for purchase, and you'll get recommendations from our field staff. So we have very experienced field staff who have been working on releasing this wasp to control bean beetle in New Jersey for quite some time. So that URL that's up in the top corner there is our digital registration form if you are interested. There's not if you go and fill out that form and then you change your mind, there's no kind of commitment there. We're offering these for free this year, just so you're aware of the insect and its availability. So for all of those of you who don't grow beans, you would also be interested in knowing what kind of pests you're dealing with. Our biocontrol of insects, we think would be very beneficial to a lot of organic farms, rather than those that are more pesticide based. So let us know what kind of pests you're having issues with. We just heard that tarnished plant bug was an issue. So we'll be looking into that to see how our wasp can benefit that situation. But we'll let you know if a new beneficial becomes available for something that you're dealing with, if you let us know your information. I believe that is all I got.
Well, guys, thank you very much for coming on. I want to really raise awareness of your insect lab because I think it can be really helpful to organic growers and appreciate it. And frankly, guys, we don't want to give all those insects to the other states nearby. No kidding. We do love them, but you know, they are a New Jersey lab, so let's all support them. And if you can use their insects, that would be really great. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming on. All right. Okay, so next over to Nate to briefly talk about EFN. And he might also say something about the questions in the chat. So just to clear up some confusion.
Sure. Thanks, Nagisa. Thanks, everybody. And I put in the chat, but it might have got lost at the end of my comment. My worst bugs are harlequin bugs, blister beetles, and cabbage moths. All armyworms are not great, but only occasionally. Anyway, thank you for the work y'all are doing. So my my nonprofit is called the Experimental Farm Network, which I co-founded back in 2013. We do sustainable ag research. We have a website where people can post a project and recruit volunteers to join them in doing that collaborative research. And we fund our work through selling seeds. So we're a very small seed company. We don't deal with large brokers or other, big seed companies. For the most part, we buy, we have growers who grow seed for us, and we have a profit share arrangement with them. And then we grow a bunch of our seed ourselves. We do occasionally order things to fill holes in the catalog from bigger seed companies. And as I mentioned earlier, the Co-op Gardens Commission, which Nagisa asked me to mention here, there was a question in the chat about seed companies making their seed accessible to smaller community organizations. And I will say that both Fedco and Mowing, as I said in the chat, donated seeds to the Cooperative Gardens Commission last year and again this year, along with about 20 other seed companies. And we count on them to make our free distribution of seeds happen. So I'm gonna share my screen, and I don't have any slides prepared, but I'm just gonna open the EFN website and just show you some of the things. I will also say you might recognize me if you've been a regular attendee at NOFA New Jersey conferences. It's really one of the last events that we actually table at and sell seeds at. Primarily we sell seeds through the internet, but I've always loved continuing to come to NOFA New Jersey because it's great to have that interface with the people who've been growing our seeds for the last 5 or 6 years. And we've only had this website up for 3 years, but now that's the vast majority of our sales. So here is the website. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So it's you can go to efnseeds.com and it will take you to this longer name, store.experimentalfarmnetwork.org, but efnseeds.com. We have a lot of categories up here. We feature a few things on this scroll here, and then some of our favorite featured items are on the front page. I thought I would click through and show you some of my personal favorites in the few minutes that I have. We do have, because we are based in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, we have a New Jersey and Pennsylvania varieties page where we have things that are from here. And that's always very cool. The Dietrich's Wild Broccoli Rabe is one of our signatures. I mentioned the Nanticoke squash earlier in my talk. This New Hanover ground cherry is from northern Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Cape May beach plums are just what they sound like. They're wild plums from Cape May. This is an old Philadelphia variety of lettuce. The Tracy rhubarb comes from the Poconos. The Vineland Hardy prickly pear comes from Vineland, New Jersey. Pine Barrens cranberry are cranberry seed harvested from abandoned cranberry bogs in the Pine Barrens. Perennial thicket bean. The Spring Garden jail tomato is a tomato with a really interesting story that it was grown by prisoners in a prison in Philadelphia in the 1800s and then maintained in the African American community and is still a cherished heirloom. And this you heard Katya earlier in the panel from Kata, the farm workers organization. This is a garden rue that was actually grown in the grown at their community garden in Bridgeton, and a share of the profits goes back to Kata. We are thrilled to have this relationship. We split the proceeds 50-50 with Katya. Here's the garden there in Bridgeton. And then a couple of the other categories I want to highlight for you. We have this Perennial Edibles category. We really focus on perennials for their capacity to help us fight climate change. We have 62 perennials right now, which is really, really exciting. We have over 300 things total in our catalog this year. These are some of the ones that sell out the fastest. We often have limited supplies of seed of these, but this Perennial Kale is a phenomenal thing that we're the exclusive sellers of. The Hablitzia is a great cold weather vining perennial green like a spinach. This Delaware creeping cucumber is a perennial version of the you might be familiar with the Mexican sour gherkin. This is one that's native to the Southeast, and it's actually creeping north as well. This one comes from the population in Delaware, which is the farthest north known population. These wild golden black raspberries are just beautiful. We've got some elderberries. Yopon holly has caffeine in it. It's the only plant in North America that has caffeine. Just some really fun things here. Bog Labrador tea. I love the perennial sorghum, which I mentioned in my talk earlier. You can get seeds for that. And then the last one I wanted to highlight is this land races and breeding stock section, which if you're interested in trying your hand at some plant breeding or developing a unique crop that's adapted to your growing situation, this is our biggest category. It includes so many different things. We have lots of really diverse populations here that you can make selections from, and really begin to do some work and breed plants yourself. I love this industry. I love that we're all supportive of each other. I work with Fedco on things and with Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, and like I said, all High Mowing and many other companies have been donating to the Co-op Gardens Initiative. And I will point your eyes as well to the top of the page here. Our catalog is online, but orders may be delayed as long as 4 to 6 weeks. I think it'll be more like 2 or 3 weeks at this point, but we also have a very large backlog. We do not have a warehouse. We operate out of my co-founder Dusty's brother's basement in Minnesota, and the workshop at a farm in Minnesota as well. So we're still pretty small, but we're really happy to be involved with NOFA New Jersey, and really grateful for this opportunity. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nate. Really appreciate it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to NOFA New Jersey's president, Mike Rasweiler, as well as Laura Robertson, who is on our staff. So Mike and Laura, take it away.
Well, Laura, I'll speak first, because what I'd like to do is introduce Laura from NOFA New Jersey, and who has been working on preparing the presentation of our NOFA website resources. So Laura, if you want to give your full name, that would be great. I didn't want to make any mistakes.
It's Laura Robertson.
And tell us about what's available at the NOFA New Jersey website these days.
Okay, awesome. Let me just pull it up for you. And here we go. So we have been working on developing a resource library for you all. And I'm just going to quickly pull it up and show you how to get there, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you might be able to find on it. So the first thing you're going to do when you get to the NOFA website, which is NOFA New Jersey, or NOFA-NJ.org, is you're going to go up to this tab that says resources, and you're going to go down to the resource library right here, and you're going to click on it. And then you'll come to this page. And this page has like a lot of very basic sort of resources that have been pulled together, things you can read, things you can listen to or watch, just within like all of these different topics. And we've organized it in a way where you can sort of see the header of the topic that you might be interested in. And then if you press the little plus buttons over here, then you can expand it so that you can see all of the resources that we've pulled together in that particular topic. And if you were thinking that you are looking for something in particular, but you really want to read it, you can come here to this button, this little button that says read. And oops. Okay. And then you can pull up whatever you were looking for. Maybe you want to pull up this, maybe you were hoping to look at some stuff about weeds and pests, and you click on this little pink button. Every word that's highlighted in pink is a link. And so you can click on this button and it will take you to this Rutgers Plant and Pest Advisory email subscription, and you can just subscribe by email. Or if you wanted to go somewhere else and look at a different resource, you can do that. Some sections have more, some sections have less. If you want us to add anything. Sorry? If you want us to add anything, you should absolutely let us know. We also have a watch section. So this is for all of our videos. So for instance, you can click on this link and watch a 6-minute video from NOFA Mass on soil carbon restoration. And again, there are all of these topics. Again, you click the plus button and you can expand it. We have a listen section. This is for podcasts of different sorts. So this top section just brings you to the podcast listings of our sister organization, NOFA Massachusetts. And it brings you to a whole list of podcasts that they've compiled. But then there are other different topics in here that you can look at. And so you should definitely check this out. We're really, really, really excited about it. And you should let us know if you have any resources that you would like us to add that you don't see on here, or if you would like us to address some topics that you can't find on here, then we can go and try and look up some information on those things and put it in this library. Now, I think we also wanted to talk a little bit more about the online program, because in case people hadn't gotten it in the chat. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, so just on the homepage, at the top is the link for the winter conference. And if you click on that button, there's that click here to view the e-program.
And this was made by our staff member, Josefina, and it's beautiful. So if anyone hasn't looked at this yet, it's really exciting. And you can just sort of scroll through, use these arrows to click through it, and it will tell you all about everyone who came, all of our sponsors, all of our supporters, all of the speakers we invited, all kinds of different things. So this is also a really exciting resource for anyone who wants to know more about someone who spoke today.
The resource library is very much a work in progress. So NOFA New Jersey, in this sort of reorganization of everybody's lives in this past year, has put a lot of time into thinking about how do we connect with our community, those of you who are attending today, and also people that are new to organic or looking for something new or a connection. So much of it is online now, and there's so many resources So NOFA New Jersey is going to make, a concentrated effort over the next season to really do a good job choosing useful links. And this is where we'll share them. And we'll share them by subject and by topic. And we hope in our programming, we will refer to them. And so this will always be an active resource for you to be able to easily click to. And like Laura says, we'd be very interested to hear resources that you think are valuable, things that have been valuable to you. And I think the way to do it is just to get the link that you think should be shared and send an email to NOFA New Jersey. Just use our contact page and give us a little description of why you think it's valuable and what you think the subject and topic are. And we'll do our best to get it shared and present it so that everybody can have access. And this is kind of the page where we want to do that. The other thing that's a good place to go to stay in contact with the NOFA community is our homepage, because if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see what the next upcoming programs are. There's the Exploring a Small Farm Dream class, which is taking signups right now, as well as Raising and Processing Chickens with Matt Wilkinson and John Lima is coming up. So, and then we've got the NOFA annual meeting is coming together. So lots of stuff coming up, and we'll be here all season.
Oh yeah, Mike, you might want to scroll all the way down to the bottom. We also do post blogs of our most recent classes. I know a number of people were asking about hemp, and we did offer a hemp class at last year's winter conference, but we chose this year to make our courses more universal and appeal because we were only having the one track. And so we offered the hemp course on the 15th. So if you just go to the homepage, you can find the hemp information, and it actually is linked to the video of the class, etc. So hopefully that can help anyone who is interested in growing hemp. I know it's a hot topic right now. Okay.
Yeah, the website looks great. It's really come along, and I'm glad to see there's so many resources for everyone to be able to tap into. And I think that is going to be an awesome resource as we continue to build it. So again, earlier we were talking about the kids and the future, right? So the more that we offer and have available on this site, we're also offering that to the up and coming farmers of the future, so think about our impact, not only on what we want to learn, but what we can offer to the folks coming up behind us. So if we're ready to move forward, do we, Nagisa, do we need to take a 5-minute, or do you want to jump right into
I think just, Kendria, I'm so sorry, but I hope you don't mind if we just take a 5-minute break, because we haven't let these folks leave their desks in over 2 hours. So I'm a little concerned.
That's fine.
All right.
Just a quick 5, right?
Just a 5-minute break. We'll just start up at 3 after. So everyone just hang tight and take a stretch break, bio break, whatever you need. All right. See you in 5.